Hello, my name is Matthew, and it's been a while, and I've been doing a lot of reading this summer and early autumn. But there's one book that I have spent a lot of time with, and I finished it maybe a month ago, month and a half ago. And it's a book that um, took me about a year and a half to read, and since finishing it, it's still a book that's on my mind. And even though the details might be a little fuzzy now, I wanted to talk about it. And it is this Clarissa by Samuel Richardson, The History of a Lady. And it's a gigantic book, it's enormously long. To give some comparison, this is a copy of War and Peace by Tolstoy, kind of famously known to be a very long book. And so, if we look at them together, uh, Clarissa just absolutely dwarfs War and Peace, and it's even a larger format. Um, that being said, no stranger to long books. I enjoy kind of falling into a world and spending a lot of time there when it's a good world to be in. And I struggled with Clarissa. Maybe a year and a half, I read the first 500 pages, and I I wouldn't say that I gave up, but I put it down and didn't pick it back up again for a very long stretch until this summer. Um, and there were two factors in my interest in the book and my determination to finish the book, and uh, maybe three factors. One is form factor. So this is unwieldy, it's uncomfortable, it's heavy, uh, and so I switched to my e-reader, which made it much more manageable uh, to read in bed. Uh, this summer, I spent a great deal of time reading dirty French books, really exciting French books like Bellamy and Dangerous Liaisons, and um, maybe notably Menon Lescat by Abby Provost, who, of many, many French books, Clarissa and Samuel Richardson were huge influence, but Abby Provost, however you say that, actually translated this into French, and that was the edition that many French writers read themselves. And so, as I was reading these French books, and Clarissa and Richardson were not only an influence, but often cited by name, it made me really interested in um, what was there that I was missing, and I wanted to know. One of the greatest helps that I had reading this book was actually something that I read by Samuel Johnson, um, who said something along the lines of, "It's a book to read um, for the sentiments, the feelings that are on the page, and not necessarily the actions or the events." So I've had this, my e copy, but I've had poor Clarissa at my bedside for well over a year, and it was my bedtime reading. And it's an upholstery novel, so it's a collection of letters from the majority of the letters are from Clarissa, written to her friend Annabelle, Ann Howe, uh, and then a few other players in the book. And it is these letters, the story is the struggles of Clarissa um, either being forced into a marriage or being forced into an indecent situation. And although this book is, when is this thing? What was this written? So 1747, um, over 300 years old. I typically don't really concern myself worrying about spoilers. But with a book that um, does have really great set piece scenes, they are few and far between, and having the surprise of these moments um, is something that I wouldn't want to rob from any reader. Um, but we have the libertine, Mr. Lovelace, who uh, is after Clarissa. He wants to marry her, or wants to bed her, and her family sees him as a libertine and someone that should be shunned and avoided at all costs. And difficulty arises when Clarissa is given an inheritance from her grandfather, and instead of the grandfather giving it to the father or the oldest son or the oldest daughter, he gives the inheritance to the youngest daughter. And this puts the family in an upheaval, and they find a suitable husband for her, for Clarissa, that will be advantageous to the finances of the Harlow household, Clarissa Harlow. And she absolutely abhors this creature of a man. And we have these letter exchanges, and Lovelace is being charismatic, manipulative, and ultimately convinces her that he can come to her rescue. Unknowingly, she's going to be putting herself into much more dangerous circumstances. Now, I mentioned the sentiments of the book can be much more compelling than the actual action and events. The book moves at a glacial pace. Hundreds of pages can go by just talking about these different characters' feelings. Uh, Another aspect of the book that I find to be impressive and tremendously entertaining is Richardson's ability to put different voices on the page. So these are letter correspondences um, between different family members, mostly Clarissa to Anne, Anne writing to Clarissa. Um, we also get letters from Lovelace, and the different um, letter writers, these different characters, um, have totally different perspectives on the actual actions, the events that are taking place, the motivations, um, but also the personality. So it is, you wouldn't even have to see who wrote it or to know that it's been a letter is written by Anne Howe. She is a firecracker, this feisty young girl. Clarissa, um, almost to her detriment, is a beautiful writer. She's a really gifted writer, and it's quite obvious that it seems as though she is very pleased with her writing, and so she's very self-indulgent and not a very good editor. It adds to the tremendous length of the book because she just enjoys writing so much. And she's fierce and witty, and it gets to a point where other characters are afraid to receive letters from Clarissa or letters from Anne. And there's a wonderful moment at the beginning of the book, the first 500 pages, um, where there is a family conflict with the mother and father, siblings, the husband that the family wants her to marry, and her just standing up for herself and shooting back responses. And the family members are practically running out of the room because they can't take her verbal attacks. Um, the parents are afraid to read her letters. Uh, all of these different characters outside of Clarissa and Anne are terrified that these two are writing to one another because they're so uh, brilliant and charged. Um, at the second half of the book, with spending more time with Lovelace and um, really seeing that he is a libertine and a bad person. At the very beginning of the book, it is rather ambiguous as to does the family just not like him and so they're putting him in a bad light? Is he really a libertine? Ultimately, he is a bad character. That's not really a spoiler. Um, Now, one of the last reasons that I wanted to read Clarissa was ultimately I wanted to read Shamala by Samuel Richardson, which is a satire of Pamela. And so I have a few other things that I'm going to talk about. I might make another video or two, depending. Um, I am very happy that I read it. I'm still interested in why it was so incredibly popular and influential. I still feel like there's elements of the book that I'm missing. I think if I was reading it as as smaller volumes had been published and I was reading smaller chunks at a more regular pace, I could have maybe found it more exciting. But just seeing the length or the percentage of the book that I finished, um, there were times where it felt daunting. Um, the writing is beautiful, the sentiments are beautiful, the characters are great. Um, to me, what was missing was an editor and pacing. And I think those are my thoughts on Clarissa. It was a very, very popular book, very influential. It is a mountain to climb. Clarissa is a mountain to climb. um, and to put some things into perspective. So this is The Mysteries of Paris by Eugene Sue. It's another very, very long book. Hold them up together. Let's see. My God. It's a workout. And so it's a long book. But The Mysteries of Paris I read in a couple weeks, and it was a page turner. I couldn't put it down, and it flew by. And that is generally the experience that I want when I'm reading a book, and a really good indication that I'm enjoying a book and having a great time. I'm not opposed to putting the work in. And so this is a book that I had to work for, but I am glad that I finished it. If you've read Clarissa or maybe Pamela or something else by Richardson, please let me know. And thank you for watching, and take care.